Hearts captain Maria Zaliukas and goalkeeper Marian Kello, both mysteriously left out of the team in recent weeks, both mysteriously returned last night, and Egert Jonsson was able to play after an Ibrox red card appeal. Georgios Samaras back after suspension to make one of his rare starts for Celtic. Glenn Loovens and Charlie Mulgrew were drafted in, dropping out Thomas Rogner, James Forrest and Daryl Murphy.
It's quite simple. Celtic must win to keep their title hopes alive. Zaliukas, bad mistake. It's Chris Commons in with a chance, and Gary Hooper! 1-0 inside 12 minutes. The dream start for Neil Lennon's team. What a blunder by Zaliukas on his return for Hearts. He's gifted it to Commons, and he set up Hooper for his 20th goal of the season. In comes the Mulgrew corner! Daniel Majstorovic with a golden opportunity, and he knows it, to get Celtic 2 in front. Celtic with total domination in this first half. We've seen precious little of Hearts. Zaliukas is in trouble again. Scott Brown, and his pass behind Commons. It's Chris Commons, and it's off the post. Now Wilson back into the danger zone, and Commons puts his follow-up effort wide, although he didn't know an awful lot about it. Another big chance for Celtic to stretch their advantage. I'm not sure Marian Kello knew a whole lot about that as he tipped the Commons shot onto the post, and wide with attempt number 2. Charlie Mulgrew against David Abua. Mulgrew not happy. Well, certainly there as the two players clashed on the touchline. Craig Thompson, the referee, having a word with Keith Sorby, his assistant. He's walking purposefully over to David Abua, and he should have a red card. Hearts are down to 10 men, and Abua can't quite believe it. Now, what happened here? He swung with his left arm, Abua. Was there any serious contact? Celtic a goal up and a man up, and looking to drive home their advantage. Ki Sun-young for Hooper! He's done it again! 4 minutes after the restart, the toe poke beats Kello, and Celtic are cruising towards all 3 points. Hooper's 21st of the season. Now, in the aftermath of that goal, there is trouble in the technical area. A fan is being led down the tunnel by police, and here's what happened as the fan flung himself at Neil Lennon. Chris Commons has to stand back, and watch him go so close to a third Celtic goal. You don't want to do this when Chris Commons is around. Charlie Mulgrew's free kick, he pulls it back for Commons, and it was straight at Marian Kello, and that's a big escape for Hearts because they did not see this coming. Ian Black's free kick, aimed at Bouzid, and it spins just wide. There have been few problems inside Celtic's own penalty box. This was a rarity. That's Craig Thompson, his back heel, hands possession back to Chris Commons, and that's going to be a yellow card for Commons for diving, and he looks fairly accepting of his punishment here. Glenn Loovens, a long ball downfield, has Hearts stretched again. Hooper for Commons, great skill, great goal, 3-0, 12 minutes to go, and his phenomenal goal scoring continues, his 14th for Celtic, Chris Commons, and that makes it 10 goals for him in 10 league games. Again, Hearts were torn apart and Hooper, having scored the first two, set up the third for Commons. But for celebrating with his own fans off the pitch, it's a second yellow for Commons. He's off.
It was some game, it was some night. Pat, you and I were both working for radio, me for Radio Scotland, you for 5 Live, speaking to a UK audience. We were about 15 yards from the big flashpoint. How damaging is what's happened to an already damaged Scottish football reputation?
Well, remember, the first thing that happened, I was surprised and shocked at the start. And a little bit angry when this individual ran on and tried to attack Neil Lennon. But then I calmed down a bit and thought, well, actually, no, am I really that surprised? This has been coming. This has been coming for some period of time. Obviously, it's unacceptable. You could talk about the lack of a decent security there, but I think that's a side issue. This may well be something got to do with something much deeper, something much more problematical in Scottish society, and I think we're all aware of that.
Neil Lennon now isn't safe anywhere, is he? Can he stay on as Celtic manager for the sake of his own health and his family's well-being?
Well, I wouldn't blame him for walking away, and I've thought that for quite some time, but I suspect he won't, because he's put up with so much already. If the bomb threats, the bullets, you name it, being attacked in the street, he's put up with so much so far, and it'd be such a shame for Scottish football and such a shame for Scottish society if we actually had one of the top managers having to go out of our country because he wasn't safe at a football field. It'd be a dreadful thing for us, and I really hope it doesn't happen.
It's not Scotland's secret shame anymore, is it? There's nothing secret about it. Can anything be done about it this time? We've had lots of investigations, lots of inquiries, and clearly no great improvement.
Well, if there's one decent thing about it, it's very much out in the open. As I said, talking to a UK audience about that was massively embarrassing, but they can't hide it now, it's there. You keep asking yourself, we tend to blame and look for blaming a lot of people. A lot of people have made mistakes. The SFA certainly have made a mistake along the line. They should have been on top of the first signs of sectarian singing and things like that. They were too slow. UEFA had to come to the rescue and do that right. I think the clubs, to be honest, have to ask themselves some questions as well. We know that they've tried over a period of time, 7 or 8 years there. I thought they worked very, very well within the various organisations they were working with to try and get rid of sectarianism. But I think that fell away over the last couple of years, and not even paying lip service to it. That has to be adhered to, and you have to go and fight for that as hard as possible. Also, I'm a little bit fed up with the blame game that the clubs are playing just now. Do you know what? Anyone who comes out and says, oh, our club's having a terrible time, have a wee look at your own house. There are problems on both sides, and there's no doubt about that. And the amount of time that's been spent people saying, it's their fault, it's their fault. Hey, there's a problem, and there's a problem with both sides, and accept it. Doesn't matter if one side's worse than the other.
There was a time in England, wasn't there, where people thought that racism in football was unbeatable. Is that maybe an example to us up here in terms of sectarianism?
Well, it certainly is for me. But when I went down, it was 1983, I went down to England, and the third or fourth game I played for Chelsea, all the boos towards Paul Campbell, a black player who played for us, and I think I was the first player who'd ever stood up about it and said I wouldn't accept it in the ground. And it was a real shock. And you say, oh, it's just inherent, it's part of society, it's part of the game, you can't do anything about it. Yeah, let's spill forward 20, 25 years. It's just about gone within the game, and you can't leave off it. You have to keep your eye on it as much as possible, but it can be beaten, and that's why we need everybody working towards it. We need the Parliament, we need the politicians. OK, they're going to show us the mettle over the next few months if they're going to be able to do it. We need the media. Now, I've got to see a lot of parts of the media, although they've stirred it a few times, I've actually been quite impressed with how many people have gone into print and said we can't accept this sectarian attitude in our sport. So I'm delighted in some areas, but it's not just them, it's the entire society. Good football fans, we've got to stand up against this.
Football matters last night paled almost into insignificance alongside that. But it was a busy touchline, wasn't it, in front of the main stand, because that was the one where David Abua got involved with Charlie Mulgrew. And I have to say, watching at the time, I didn't see anything at all that merited a red card.
Well, it's an attempted punch, not the touch to the front, that there. Now, if that's an attempted punch. No, for me, now, to be honest, by the rule of the game, by the referees, they can tell you if it's an attempted punch, you can send the player off. But you know he's not really went for it. You know he's tried to get his hand away from it. I don't know anyone, and Neil Lennon in the background there, he didn't think it was a sending off either. Nobody I know at the game, including all of us who were sitting 15 yards away from it in the press box, nobody thought that was anything, at the very most, a yellow card. So very disappointing that.
Neil Lennon doesn't want the off-field drama to disguise what was a tremendous Celtic performance last night, right from kick-off.
Yeah, and they closed down very well. Now, we'll say it very quickly, Hearts didn't play very well last night. Their use of the ball was poor. But part of the reason for that is because Celtic closed them down very, very quickly and got forward from midfield very quickly indeed. It's a classic case of Celtic closing down. Look at that, high up the pitch. Now, if you get the ball high up the pitch, then you're just about in and goal. Great thinking from Chris Commons there. Nice little touch round the corner. But if you tackle with 30 yards out, you've only got 30 yards to get to the goal. So it's a good tactic, and it's definitely one that Neil Lennon set his players out to do. And it's, I mean, in times gone by, most teams sit back a little bit, and take a little bit of defending, but Celtic decided not to do that right from the start of the game, and it worked an absolute treat for them. And they were 1 goal up at the start there, but they could have been 2, 3 and 4. And when Abu eventually went off, then it was never in doubt what was going to happen there. And this was absolutely fantastic play. I mean, the toe poke, I love the toe poke strings. It doesn't always look that stylish, but some fantastic finish. And that was at the end a brilliant move. So they played all the football, did all the tackling, did everything right for just about the entirety of the match. A great display by Celtic.
Both teams ended with 10 men. Can Chris Commons have any complaint?
No. Now, it's questioned the referee about his sending off before the first one in Abu. This one, you only needed to look at the player's reaction. He throws his left leg actually into the defender. He knows that he was looking to get the player booked there. So, well done referee, spot on, good call. This one, well, maybe a question of offside. I think the Hearts fans will be shouting for that. This is great again from Cromas. Lovely dummy, puts it in the corner. Does he in momentum take him into the crowd? No, he walks in. But look at the referee. He's trying to get him out of it. He's trying his best to help the player, but he can't help him. And of course, he's into it. He's dragged into it. The referee has absolutely no option there. He must yellow card him. And considering everything that had happened, not only during this game, but in the build-up to this game over the last few months, absolutely no complaints whatsoever. And to be fair, looking at those Celtic players walking by, they're not making any complaints. And the referee, he's kind of almost apologetic, but he ain't getting a choice there.
Rangers